I said earlier, I think we're a safe community. Our stats show that some of our crime rates have gone down, some of them have gone up. In particular, the burglaries have gone up a little bit. Petty thefts have gone up a little bit, but overall, the violent crimes are down in our city, and it takes a lot of hard work from every member of the police department and the city administration to make that happen. So, and the prosecutor's office, I see Judy Calhoun back there. So, and one mentioning the prosecutor's office, I got to tell you that Jeff Arnold and his staff is absolutely fabulous to work with. There's never been, in my 28 years in the police department, a better relationship between a police department and a Delaware County prosecutor. It's absolutely fabulous. We get a lot done with Jeff and his staff, and they get a lot done with us. So, I'll just share a quick story with you that happened one day last week. There was an armed robbery, 3 armed robberies on midnight shift, done by the same person within 3 hours. Boom, 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 boom. You could see the tracks all over the south end of town. That case was given to one of our detectives at 8 o'clock. By midnight that night, there was 3 arrests, or an arrest made on all 3 of those armed robberies. So that was a lot of work on our detective division, our uniform division, and with the cooperation of the Delaware County Prosecutor's Office. So those are some of the things that I see. Obviously, my view is tainted because all we're doing is dealing with we are dealing with the crime. There's a lot that I think as a community we can do. We've got code enforcement that will help clean up neighborhoods and things like that. And I know they work very hard on that, and that helps our law enforcement end up too.
Is that how you see it, Robert Thursday?
I have an interesting point of view. I just recently moved back to Muncie just a little over a year ago. And coming from Cleveland, Ohio, I will say that Muncie, Indiana is literally one of the most peaceful places on the face of the earth. I've not heard much about gang violence here. I've not heard much about a lot of turf wars and neighborhood wars as it was in the early 90s when I was a youth growing up here. But I will agree with my fellow panelists here with the youth. There is definitely a up-ramp of youth activity as it relates to violence, as it relates to our youth being disorderly and completely out of control. I believe that something has to be done in partnership with the law enforcement agencies, but I don't believe that law enforcement and locking everybody up is the initial way to go. I believe that there needs to be a process. There needs to be more interaction and more hands-on interaction, not just from law enforcement, but from our churches as well. Our churches are the pillars in our community. We work with people every day of the week, every week of the month. And as a young pastor in this city, I'm probably going to get myself in trouble, but I'm in the school of thought of I understand where our youth are coming from. I have 2 small children in my home as well. So I understand the plight and the challenges that youth of today are dealing with from the ages of birth to 32, 33. I'm just 34, so I've kind of grown up in this modern day era. And there is a changing of the tide. It's not so much lock everybody up, because at this point, our jailhouses and prisons are overrun. Tax dollars are paying for that. So there must be some level of intervention that has to come out of our communities. We as a community, we can no longer afford just to sit idly by and watch our children go to hell in a handbasket. And since I've been back home to Muncie, that's one of my first missions and first initiatives is to do everything that I can to not only help our youth, but bridge the gap between our youth and our mothers and fathers, as it were, our senior citizens, and everybody in the community so that we can all collectively learn how to work together.
Thank you, brother. Tell us from where you sit, what is your assessment of the state of peace in Muncie?
It has been my observation, having worked as a barber in the inner cities of Muncie, cater to perhaps 85% of African American males. I have an additional 15% of other ethnicity and nationalities that come to my barbershop. But while operating in the Whiteley community for about 10 years, the community is peaceful, as the pastor and the police said, compared to your Indianapolis and your Chicago areas. However, this peace is always threatened when there's unemployment, lack of opportunity, lack of education. And we must always be on guard because this particular threat to peace is sweeping our nation, and it is coming here. I can remember operating in the Whiteley community and opening up, and all the young men that would patronize my barbershop would come in peace. As the years progressed, this peace began to fade. Most of these young men now endeavor to own a pistol at such a young age. They're indulging in the use of narcotics. We have designer drugs now that are disrupting the mental status of our youth. Therefore, they may do anything at any time with these drugs. And the absence of hope that these young guys could achieve their goals is also fading. When we talk about peace, we have to talk about violence. I had asked a question in my barbershop. Why are these young men angry? And a friend of mine directed me to a book. The author is Amos Wilson, Dr. Amos Wilson, and the book is entitled Black on Black Violence. What we have is 3 phases of violence that takes place. The first phase is your initial violence, where these young people feel that the system is not on their side, that they cannot get ahead, and that they continue to phase out recreational programs for these youngsters. And as a result of the second phase comes the retaliatory violence based upon the assault of the system abandoning our youth. The retaliatory violence stage happens when the young man feels that he has to rebel in some kind of way at the system, and it is not the right way. And they give up hope, begin to use such excuses to avoid living up to their potentials. And it leads to the third phase of violence, which we consider, which Dr. Amos Wilson considers as the boomerang effect. We know what a boomerang does. When you throw it, it comes back. So the retaliatory violence that that is inflicted back upon such system that has failed and abandoned our youth intensifies when the boomerang comes back. It's no longer a retaliatory system on the system. It becomes retaliatory on your own communities. Black men killing black men, children disobeying their parents, children dropping out of school and missing the opportunity to gain knowledge to protect themselves from some of the mistakes that they're going to make. mistakes are human. We're going to make mistakes. But the beauty about that is that once you make your mistake and you learn from that mistake, you put it behind you and you move on, as I have did. And unfortunately, we don't have enough soldiers, is what I say, for the community.
Yeah.
Who get out of prison or whatever situation that they're in that was debilitating at one time, and use our knowledge and our experiences to reward the community. Our youth don't have peace because they don't have the necessary attention that they need in order to feel the importance of existing and, in fact, achieving. So I will agree with both of my gentlemen here that there is peace, but the peace is slowly fading.
Reverend Hill, Pastor Hill.
I was sitting here and I'm listening to Brother Love, and he made some very valid points. But for me, I see, and only being in Muncie for a short period of time, but I travel all over this country, been to some different cities. What I see is a lack of involvement from parents. Cannot all put it on the youth because the parents themselves must involve themselves in their children's life.
Yeah.
And not only that, there's a lack of involvement from my viewpoint, and I may get myself in trouble with this, but a lack of involvement with the community itself. When it comes to aligning ourselves and doing things when we're trying to bring some positive impact in Muncie, I see that there is a lack of involvement unless it hits a person's front door. And my thing is that whenever there's something that goes on in the community, whether it is our child or someone else's child, I think the entire community should pull together in trying to help them to understand. Now, there is a lack of education, well, I should say a lack of